Hi, I'm Emma Muir, soul coach, energy healer, and well-being guide, and an unapologetic curious soul. Connected Conversations brings well-being, love, and connection through authentic and open conversations, sharing amazing people who are being of service through their businesses, talking about all aspects of well-being and healing in life and in business. As a soul coach, I help men and women unlearn and unfuck themselves from childhood experiences, patterns, programming, and trauma. I know deeply learning through my own path to well-being over the years, all the different parts and habits that are needed to live a heart-centered life filled with well-being. Through my curious nature, I delve into connected conversations showing their journey in business and in life to inspire you to take the path to your well-being. The truth is, we're better supporting one another. We're better sharing our gifts to help one another in deepening our connection to ourselves and others. Thank you for watching or listening. I'm grateful for all your support, for sharing, for liking and commenting. All of you is welcome here. Here is our wonderful guest today to introduce their gifts and passion to you.
Hi, my name is Kristi Dietz, retire early and live investor. I'm an avid real estate investor since the mid-90s, and I'm also a real estate agent. I live here in Los Angeles, California, but I definitely travel the world. And I also work on teaching others, and especially women, how to be financially free by acquiring assets in real estate investment so that you can take care of your future and you never, ever have to rely on anyone but your own earnings and your own freedom and your own wealth. And also speaking about the whole spiritual journey where wealth equals health.
Welcome to Connected Conversations, to bring healing, love, and connection to your everyday life through open and authentic conversations. And today I'm sharing time with Kristi Dietz, super excited, who is a real estate investor, not only who can help create, mainly women, like you're really working with women to help create a solid financial foundation through investing, but also helps her clients sell their homes to get the best outcomes. With all the challenges of the past 2 years, Kristi has kept her bright light shining and moving forward, and I cannot wait to dive in and find out how she did it. So thank you so much for sharing time with me and everyone today. I really appreciate you being here. We have just been talking before we started recording that we are on opposite ends of the planet. Me being in Melbourne, you being over in LA, California. I love it. So I want to get straight into your background though, because how did you get into this?
Well, I grew up the typical, divorced family, step parents, the whole thing. But my dad was an engineer and a builder my whole life. So I remember when we were kids, there was four of us. I have two half siblings and my sister and I, and when we'd spend weekends with my dad, he would have us as part of our chores go and clean up the job sites after the cleaners went and cleaned the job sites. And I remember us completely hating it, having to pick up the rubbish and sweep the sawdust and everything. But he just made us do it anyway. But I actually, while we were cleaning, he would teach us things. He'd say, "Oh, see this right here? This is a stub out for a bathroom that's going to go in. And see this over here? This is where I ran the electrical so that I have the conduit for this or that." But we didn't realize really that we were learning at the time.
Smart man.
Right. But we were just grumping that we had to work for free, basically. And sometimes it'd be cold, and we'd have gloves on and everything else. And then when my mom married when I was about 3, my stepfather owned a lot of real estate. And to help collect rents, he used to take me when I was 4, 5, 6 years old around with him to collect the rents. Like, "Oh, look at my cute little stepdaughter, pay me the rent." And I would go around with him. And then he also had a candy store. And from 8 years old on, I was working in the candy store. So needless to say, I grew up being very independent and always surrounded around real estate and engineering and construction. And I didn't really realize I was learning anything at the time. But by the time I was 15, I had my first job at, I don't know if you have you have one similar there. We have Burger King. Yours is called Burger something. It's in Melbourne.
Hungry Jack's. Hungry Jack's. It's the
Yeah,
same
Hungry
thing,
Jack's.
but it's relabeled as Hungry Jack's here.
Yes, yes. Okay. So my first job was flipping burgers at Burger King at 15. And then by 16, I moved out of my house and I was on my own. By 18, I was managing Benetton clothing stores.
Yep.
And then I decided, oh, I hate school. I don't want to go to school. And then I realized like I was going to make like a small wage the rest of my life managing clothing stores, because I asked to be promoted and they said, well, do you have a college degree? And I'm like, no. And they're like, no, our corporate rules are you can't be promoted past a management position unless you have a college degree. So then I said, okay, quit my job. At 21, I started community college, which is a junior college. And then because I didn't even finish all my high school, I ended up getting what's called a GED, a general education paper, because I wouldn't dissect animals in biology and they wouldn't let me pass high school without having a biology credit. And I was like, I'm not dissecting pigs that are attached to little.
Is that part of your, do you have to do
that? Not anymore, but when I was growing up, yes, it was required. So I didn't start college until I was 21 and I went to Florida State University. And then I really found, but all the time I was working full-time. I was working full-time. I've always been an artist. So I was making paintings and selling it to interior designers during college. And then I decided that I wanted to work in the music business, but because I loved music. And I really believe people and places and things are put in front of you when you're ready and when you're supposed to meet them. And when I was in college, the first time I went with my friends to New York over spring break. I don't know if you guys have spring break, but we had a spring break. I went with girlfriends to New York over spring break. I wasn't in New York, but 2 hours. And I was in this club called the Limelight. And all of a sudden I see this guy walking across the room with a long black coat and this long black hair and earrings. And this is back in, mid 90s. And I remember thinking to myself, who is he walking over to? Because here I am, this little college girl, and everything, blonde hair from Florida, right? And he comes over and he's like, hi, I'm Johnny. Well, he turns out his name was Johnny Rico, and he at the time had #1 metal album of the year from Warrior Soul, and he was
I know who Johnny Rico is. Yeah.
You too. Oh my God, small world. Okay, so he was my boyfriend from when I was 25 and 26, and he's still one of my closest people in my life today. But I give him the credit for making me fall in love with working behind the scenes in the music business, because I would go back and forth from Florida when we were dating and stay with him. And I even interviewed on Wall Street. And when I finished my first degree, I interviewed on Wall Street, and I actually got hired in 2 places. And one was at the top of the World Trade Center at Cantor Fitzgerald to work at the zero bond desk as a junior trader. And I remember the pit of my stomach feeling like, this isn't right. This isn't right. This isn't right. And luckily I didn't get a job there, because several years, like 3 or 4 years after that, the World Trade Center happened and I would have been dead. Because the man who hired me, the man who wanted to give me a job, died in that. So it's funny how your intuition and your gut instinct leads you to people. And so from Johnny and him taking me around to the record labels and to shows he did and things like that, I said, I love music. I want to work in the music business. So I finished a 2nd degree at Florida State in business. And then I decided I'm going to move out to LA and I'm going to work in the music business. And again, I looked back to my childhood home. I'm like, I always have this mindset. It's not what you know, it's who you know to where you're going to go. So I'm like, who do I know? Who do I know? And I'm like, oh, I know Greg Allman from the Allman Brothers in Sarasota. Let me check with him and see if any Allman Brothers is like old school from the days of Rolling Stones and Grateful Dead. Okay. So he gave me 2 names in LA to call. And one was the president of a record label and the other one was the head of a huge management company who at the time was doing Nirvana and Hole and all these things. So I literally had a U-Haul with my cats in my U-Haul and dragging my old car behind. And I moved to LA, got a hotel, started working in the music business. And fast forward, I was really successful in the music business. I went to the top, I became an executive, and then I started my own business in the music business, subcontract back to the labels. And then while I was in the music business, I was trying to take just a little art class to reignite my passion in art that I've always painted. And the class was canceled. And I'm coming back from this class at a community college, and I hear this man bellowing out of a classroom, anyone can buy real estate, no matter if you make 10,000 a year or 100,000 a year. I'm like, that's about me. Because I was working as a temp in the music business, making like peanuts. I lived with a roommate, all of this stuff. And so I walked into that classroom, and that classroom changed my life. This man ended up becoming my mentor and teaching me how to invest in real estate. He owned 400 rental homes, and he literally not only taught me how to invest in real estate, he encouraged me to get my real estate license, to become a teacher. Then I started teaching at all the Southern California colleges, teaching women. I had how to be a successful woman real estate investor, how to profit from fixer-uppers, how to manage your property managers, how to buy foreclosures, no money down. I learned everything from him and then regurgitated it. And I left the music industry because I started buying, while I was working in the music business, I started buying. One year I bought 7 rental houses.
Wow.
And yeah, I was just buying and buying. To one point, I had 22 rental houses, all single family homes. And I just loved it so much. And then the music industry started crashing. And I just jumped out of music and just dove right into real estate full time. And I just love it. And I just love how, if you're open to the possibilities, like, people will come in your life to guide you if you're open.
Well, how true is that? Yes. And quite often,
Yes.
because people get stuck in, but this is what I do. And, you know,
Right.
I can't do that. This is what I do.
Right.
Oh, I love that. So
I know that's a thing. There's a lot of other things in between all that, but that gives you the gist of it. Just of it.
Gist of it. Yeah.
And now I'm back teaching again. I'm teaching an 8-week online class on how to get started in real estate investing. And Johnny Rico actually is helping me copyright my material. And because now he still does music, but he's a pilot. He's been a pilot for years. And he does websites and he writes music and all this stuff. So he knows a lot about copywriting. So then again, full circle is helping me again.
I love that. And all that was him walking across, like, where is he going to? Who's that?
Yeah. Like, he was walking straight to me, and I literally was going, there was no one around me. I'm like, who is he coming to talk to? That man looks tall, dark, and scary. I literally was scared of him. And I was like, oh, what are you talking? Because I'm this like little tiny blonde girl from Florida, and he's this New Yorker, you know?
So tell me about, let's go back. You went to the conference and then you started investing. What were some of the challenges that came up for you? Because I imagine, like, I'm a woman, and I'm not trying to say, look, I don't actually know, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, because I know over the years I've been looked at because of age, because of sex, and just completely like, it's all right, little lady, you know. So
Right.
How did that go for you? I'm really curious about that, because in the music industry, I imagine that might have been, oh God, I'm probably going to have some bad comments on this, but like, you know, that would have been an asset. But how did that go? How did that transfer into investing and into being a real estate agent?
Well, I mean, believe it or not, at that age when I started investing in real estate, I was 29 years old. So I was single. I didn't really have any responsibilities. I just had cats, and I was working in the music business, and I took up ice skating again because I had been a figure skater when I was younger. So I started doing that. So I was really fulfilling a lot of my passions that I really loved. And I actually didn't even think about it. I just was I did anything Dr. Reddick told me to do. He told me, do this, do that. And one of the structures with real estate, it says, buy someplace that you know. So the first property I bought was in Orlando, Florida, because I'm from Florida. So I thought, okay. And they had these government foreclosures that were being given available to the real estate network that he ran in Florida. So I bought, and I remember I had no money. I'm like, okay, I have no money to buy this property. And Dr. X like, oh, don't worry. You'll figure it out. It will come to you. He goes, just sign the contract. You'll figure it out. And I literally like barely was scraping by paying my credit cards, my car payment, and my rent. And I was like, oh my God, what can I do? What can I do? So I called one of my friends from college who was already very established in his career. He was one of my best friends, Miguel Quintana. I said, Miguel, can I borrow a couple $1,000s? I need to put together some money because I'm buying a house in Orlando. I said, don't ask any questions. Just trust me and I'll pay you back. I promise. I'll pay you back within 6 months. Didn't ask me any questions. He says, okay. Then I got a credit card that had a 0% with a cash advance. And then I took the remaining money off the credit card, which was like another 3,000. I think it was like 5,000 I needed to come up with. So I just got the money from a friend and credit card. And by the nick of time, by the time I was ready for it to close, I had the money to buy my first property. And I just did it. And then I had to come up with money to fix the property up because it was a foreclosure. So it needed new carpet, paint, whatever it needed inside. I had to come up with money for that. And I just lived in the moment and did it as I went along.
I love that. But my little brain is ticking over, right? And thinking about if we've got people listening that are family orientated, how do they take that leap of faith?
Well, number one, it's education and knowledge. I really took every single class that Dr. Reddick taught. He would teach all these different classes at all the Southern California colleges, and I went to every single workshop. He had a real estate network, and every week on a Monday night, he would have a lecture in a different city. I would go out of the 4 a month, I would probably go to 3 of them. Then I started speaking at them. And while I was going to all these events, I was meeting all these people that were all different stages. And don't forget, at that point, I wasn't married yet and I didn't have kids. But I continued, I set goals of what I wanted to create because he also was really strong on teaching gap management, goal setting. And I remember saying that at 29, I said, by the time I'm 40, I want to own 12 investment properties. And I did it by the time I was 32. And I just kept setting goals for myself. And even when I got married, I got pregnant. And then because of being pregnant, I got married, even though I didn't want to. I didn't follow my gut instinct, and my ex-husband and I are best friends, but I got married anyway. And I knew not to get married, but I went to Dr. Reddick and said, Dr. Reddick, I'm getting married. And he was at my wedding. I said, what do I do to protect myself? And he goes, well, you need to protect your assets. So 3 weeks before I got married, I set up all my assets and houses in a pre-marriage living trust. And then after I got married, I continued to buy and sell within my pre-marriage trust, not including my husband. And that saved me when I got divorced, because when I got divorced, all my assets remained with me, even though I was married for 11 years, even though I continued to buy and sell while I was married within my trust. And I guess your question was about how does someone who has a family do something like that? Well, there's no get rich quick. There's no get rich quick in real estate. Everyone sees like all these shows that are just not true. Good old fashioned saving. And sometimes there's a married couple and one or the other wants to buy and the other one doesn't. So one can purchase married, sole and separate, and I continued buying. I bought 10 more properties as a single parent. I continued buying and buying and buying because once you have one, you create money to get the next, because there's an old adage, when you don't have any money, no one wants to give you any credit. When you have some assets, everybody gives you credit.
I have heard that as well, because you've got an asset for it to leverage from. So if anything happens, they can get their money back.
Right.
But then you would have people renting these properties. So
so I hired, Dr. Reddick also taught us that you hire very good property managers and then you manage your property managers. So you always interview at least 3 property managers and you get references, and also it's the type of house you buy. Your house looks like your tenant looks like your house. So if you buy a house that's in a bad area, you're going to get a bad tenant. If you buy a really high-end house and try to rent it, you're going to attract people who are living beyond their means and can't afford to buy their own house. So if you buy a house that's in their first time starter, middle class yuppie area, and what I mean by that is everyone, when they're in high school or right out of college, they rent because they don't know where else to go. And then people get sick of living in apartments. And then even though they can't afford to buy their own home yet, they want to live in a condo, a townhome, or a house while they're starting their professional career, maybe just get married or just have a baby until they can save money to buy their own house. So that's the type of houses you buy. It's a particular model. So I have a particular model of the type of houses I buy, and they're all very similar. And it's a first-time starter house. And most of those tenants stay anywhere from 5 to 20 years in your house.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I have a tenant in Hawaii that's been in my townhome there for 20 years.
Wow.
And they don't see their houses. They see the house as their house. They treat it like their house. They fix it, they repair it, they plant things, whatever they're going to do.
Oh, nice. Oh, because I don't know what your real estate, we can't do a lot with our properties, like when you're renting, in terms of being the tenant. Like everything is under permission. Everything, even planting stuff, has to be a permission thing.
Permission from who?
From the landlord.
Oh yeah, it's like that here too. But what I'm saying is, like, my tenants in Hawaii, if their fan breaks, they'll go buy a new ceiling fan and say, Kristi, we're going to replace the ceiling fan. We'll just send you the bill for the fan, but we'll put it up for you. Things like that. That's what I'm saying.
Oh no, I can't do that here. I have to, if something breaks, I have to go through the landlord to let them know so that they have to fix it. That's not how.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Here you can do that. You can shoot. I mean, there's many tenants that they don't do anything either. I send the people, I have workers, but I go through the property management companies. But some of my properties that I've had tenants for a long time, I manage them myself. So now it's obvious to me now to start a property management company too. So that's another business that I'm going to be starting. I have to get a different license for that.
Oh, I love it, because I want to get into all the different things that you do, but I do want to understand, and I'm just writing stuff down because I love that. Like, if people are interested in real estate, I know that you run a masterclass as well, in an 8-week course as well. And I'm sure that you'd be teaching about gap management in that, which that intrigues me. What drives you, Kristi?
Well, a big thing that drives me is my kids. I have 2 kids. I've been a single parent for, 13 years now. So I got divorced when my daughter was 4 and my son was 7. So, when you have kids that you need to take care of, it's not an option. You have to provide for them. You have to create a future for them. And I'm a strong believer that kids are going to follow what their parents teach them. And ever since my kids have been little, I did actually, ironically, what my dad did. I used to take my kids from as quick as they can walk. I would take them to the rental houses. I'd say, we own this. Do you see this? And I would show them the difference. Do you see this person? They allow their dog to have dog poop on the floor, whatever. This is the difference with someone rents versus someone who owns. And so I would always teach them as they would grow. And by the time they were 16 also, I would give them credit cards of high limits that their cosigner under me to build their credit. And then I always tell my son is going to be going away to University of California, Santa Barbara, and then law school. So I said, okay, well, now we're going to be buying you a 2 or 3 bedroom condo, and then you'll rent it out 2 people in a room plus you, and then you'll have positive cash flow and you'll be the landlord. So I teach my kids, and they're my big why. Because not only do I have to provide for them and pay for their college and pay for everything, because my ex-husband was an artist and a musician. So he really never made money when we were married. And the whole time we were divorced, he gave me $325 a month. That's it. So not only did my why is to show my kids what it's like to be a hard worker, how to save, how to invest, and how you can build assets and provide for them.
I love that. What's your son going to uni for? What's he studying?
He wants to be a lawyer. A solicitor. I think you guys say solicitor, right?
No, we have lawyers. There's solicitors
Okay.
here. They do different things. Yeah. Look, I think it's fairly similar, but
And then my daughter just finished high school.
Yeah.
And she starts college in the fall too. And she wants to be a doctor. She wants to be an eye surgeon.
Oh, wow.
Again, because of the obvious, she's had 5 eye surgeries in her life, and that developed from when she was a baby. And it created this love for her of medicine and helping other kids. So it's like all these opportunities that come across your life really can create for you your future and the direction, the destiny, and the direction that you take in life.
Yeah, if you follow them. I mean, look, I'm a soul coach, and I can assure you I've been through most experiences that my clients come to me from and for.
Yeah.
So it's not just the amount of study I've done over 20 years in the personal development space, but it's also lived experience as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're in those sessions, yeah, I get that, absolutely. And at the time, you don't really quite often see what the purpose of it is, but there are moments in my work where I'm like, oh yeah, I've totally been through that. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I get where you're coming from. I get it.
Yeah. And I tell my students and other women I mentor and stuff, I said, listen, it's not easy. If I put off short-term gratification needs to invest. So, I only allow myself a new car every 10 years because I would rather put money into buying a house or into one of my rental properties than buying a new car every 2 years. If one of my rental houses needs a new roof and I need a new roof, my roof will get patched and my rental house will get a new roof. So you put off short-term gratification needs to be successful. So I'm not saying it's all peaches and cream and everything is so easy, but I'll tell you that anything that happens, you can get through it. Just like anything, everything in life is temporary and you can always get through it.
Yes. What is that? It'll come to me. It's a biblical saying, but I can't think of it now. It'll come to me.
Not the Matthew effect.
No. No, I cannot think of it right now, but it'll come to me though.
Remember, the Matthew effect is those who have will have more, and those who have not will have less. And it's because of the mindset.
Well, yes.
What you think of, you will create. 100%. So if you walk around thinking, oh, I can't possibly have other assets besides my house I live in. Oh, no way. I'm not a millionaire. I can't do. If you think that way, of course you're not going to create it. But see, when I was 29 years old, I thought I could do anything. If I want to be president of the United States, I'll be president of the United States. Because at that age, you're still in more innocence, or right out of college, you just really think you can do and create anything. I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I will say, I think some people unfortunately don't have the same start, and perhaps aren't giving the same messaging, and perhaps not given the same work ethic as well, and surroundings. So they have to find it at their own pace. No, the thing I was thinking of is this too shall pass. So everything, nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. I want to know why it's so important for you to work with women.
Because when I first started learning from Dr. Marshall Reddick, there was this woman from Germany. Her name was Sabina Gross Vasquez. And she at the time was working under Dr. Reddick, and her husband, Edwin Vasquez, was a realtor in the network. And she actually led the women's course on how to be a successful woman real estate investor. And she kind of took me under my wing and mentored me and gave me the courage and showed me, how to be successful in this. And so it was so important for me to give back. And I just really relate to him. And like what you said earlier in the beginning of the podcast, we're kind of looked at sometimes as second-class citizens. Even when I go to buy a new car, they look at me like, oh, honey, is your husband coming with you to get the car? Like this happened to me recently when I bought a new Lexus SUV. And they're like, oh, is your husband going to come with and help you negotiate the deal? I'm like, no, I'm going to negotiate the deal. And then I ended up walking out of there because he was patronizing to me. And I walked out and I went and bought the car from another dealer. And boom, and I got all the terms I want. So yes, it does happen. And in the music business, oh my gosh, when I first started in the music business, the first person I went to meet, who was referred to from the Allman Brothers, who was a top music manager, which I won't say who it is. First thing, his picture of his wife was on his table, and the first thing he wanted was to have sex with me. And I had to talk him, and I was like, why would you want to have sex with me when look at how beautiful your wife is right here. She's a famous photographer. She was like National Geographic. I'm like, da, da, da. And I talked my way out of it. And then he ended up giving me a job. But it's like, it happens all the time. And when you're buying real estate, they don't, even my house I live in now, I bought this house with pre-marriage money. My house is worth like 1.8 million right now. And I bought it for 306,000 as a foreclosure, in year 2000. I completely gutted it. But even now, I've been divorced 13 years. Everyone automatically assumes my ex-husband gave me this house in the divorce. And I don't even correct anyone. I'm like, yeah. Everyone knows. If I go on a date with somebody and they come pick me up from my house, oh, this is nice settlement you got in your divorce. And right away, I'm like, okay, check. Won't be going on a date with this.
We'll just enjoy dinner together and I'm out.
Yes, exactly. So yes, it is still a huge double standard. And speaking of United States, everyone knows the uproar of the government just saying that they don't support abortions anymore. That women don't have a right to choose, which brings us back 100 years. And I'll be the first to say I had an abortion in college. If I wouldn't have done that, it would have ruined my life. It was my last semester of college. I had already broken up with my boyfriend. I was finishing college, and in 4 months, I was moving to LA. Now I was early along. I was probably 12 weeks. But I mean, come on. My life would have been ruined if I would have been forced to have a child. I wouldn't have graduated college. I wouldn't have moved to LA. I wouldn't have worked in the music business. I then wouldn't have gone to that class so that I can learn how to invest in music. It would have changed the whole trajectory of my life.
Oh, look, I'm there with you. Not that I wasn't actually I would have been in that position had I not miscarried. I was very young though. I was 15, and and I can still remember sitting on my toilet at home, just painfully crying and having to go and see my doctor afterwards, which I didn't go for 2 days. And I know that's not good, but thank God nothing happened. Was understood that I knew that I was pregnant. I was probably only about 8 weeks along at the time. So I was very early, but I miscarried. And still to this day, I can look back and think I would not have had that baby. I would have definitely, I can absolutely remember sitting there thinking, oh, thank you for taking over that decision, because it's a tough one to make. But, look,
it would have changed the trajectory of your life. It would have.
Oh my God, I was 15.
Yeah.
If I'm 46, I would have had a 20-odd, child.
Yeah.
Like a 21-year-old right now. And that would have absolutely have changed. Yeah. Who knows if I would have had my 3 beautiful children that I have now. Right. But anyway, it wasn't meant to be. And like you, look, I've got plenty of girlfriends that have made that decision in their early 20s. Purely, I am in a different country. It's not illegal here. But at the same time.
Well, it wasn't ever here either. But they just put us back 50 years. So,
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine why that was. But it does interest me, right? Because over the past couple of years, we're getting into it now. So over the past couple of years, these people that are saying, oh, my body, my choice, how dare they take away women's rights? For me, I've met a lot of people that have also been on the side of, well, you need to go out and get yourself vaccinated, and you need to, it's got to do the right thing, and we've had roll up your sleeves here, and I'm like, listen, it's just do it, let make your own choices, I'm not here to tell you what to do about your own health choices. Right. Nor am I here to tell a woman what to do about her own health choices in regards to having a baby or not having a baby either. But you know what I mean? I'm with you there. And so for me, it's interesting seeing this come up because there's a lot of hypocrisy going on at the moment.
Yeah. And they're leaving it up to each state. Now, do I really believe that someone should be allowed to go get an abortion at 5, 6, 7, 8 months, 9 months? No, because that's not fair to a child that's being born. But if it's a reasonable time, 15 weeks or younger, or 16 weeks and younger. Yes. But like they're leaving it to each state. And I was listening to this newscast, Texas, which is very anti-abortion, very religious. And they interviewed one of the politicians there and says, well, if you don't allow abortions here, what happens when a woman is raped and she gets pregnant from her rapist? And his answer was, well, we're working hard to stop rape altogether in our state. That was his answer. And I said,
what about
really?
Well, but there's also cases, and I've had beautiful friends that have been in this position where they've gone in for a scan and it's late term and they've found some very significant health problems with the baby, and they've said this is going to be the life of this child,
right? Like a vegetable or whatever, right?
Significant defect,
and it's not fair to a child.
So they've had to make a very heartbreaking decision. I know one couple that did. Thankfully, another couple, the scan was massively incorrect, which was amazing. Like, that freaked me out how massively incorrect it was. However, minor problems, but not anything as what they said. Having to make those heartbreaking decisions. So I think it's almost like, you're right. For me, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a conversation around it, because there still has to be a choice, because I know plenty of people that
it should be an individual choice. That's the bottom line.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Just like vaccinations, like the way that people were forced to be vaccinated if they worked in a hospital or this.
We had construction workers here. We had construction workers. So our construction industry was all forced to be vaccinated as well. School teachers.
Yes. And I have several friends that are doctors, and they are strongly against the vaccine, and they were forced as doctors to get a shot so that they can continue working in the hospitals and in their practice. And, I chose not to get a vaccine, and I've lost friendships over it. My kids and I had COVID in November 2020, and I've never gotten it again. I take CD, zinc, and quercetin. I've been around many people who had COVID. I've shared glasses with people who have COVID, and I've never gotten it again. I have glasses.
Well, my kids and I've chosen not to. I don't take a lot of. I'm a very natural therapy kind of a gal. I don't even take Panadol, which is like our headache, like an aspirin. So I don't even take that if I've got a headache. I can't tolerate a lot of stuff. But like you, I've had to shift away from friendships because. Just, I'm okay, you do what you do, but just don't tell me what to do with my body. But I had it quite substantially. I had it really bad at the end of last year, 2021. And but again, like you, over the past 6-7 months, I've been around quite a few people that have.
Because you have T cells now that store the memory. It's very similar. Dr. Zelenko protocol. He talks about it's very similar to chickenpox. How you get chickenpox once when you're a kid, and then you really never get it because your T cells remember. But the problem is when people are, that's a whole other topic. When people get vaccinated, then they shoot holes in their immune system, and that's why they get it again and again and again. And everyone who's been vaccinated ends up getting COVID anyway.
And what you've just spoken to is really interesting, because it's happened here in Australia that we've gone, being Australian, or that's where I'm born. It's interesting because I thought I'm Australian, right? However, what the past 2 years and beyond has shown me is that I'm actually Victorian. I'm in a state. And we've all been treated very separately.
The way you guys were like shut down, I couldn't believe it. It's like you guys were prisoners, literally. It's like going back to the dark ages,
Yeah.
And even California, I feel like is very similar to what they did to where I live, very similar to what they did to Australia.
Yeah, it
just
was
completely shut us down. And the kids all now have such mental health crises because of this. Even adults do, but adults seem to be able to get over a little more and deal with it. But kids we've talked, your son, my daughter, have just been devastated by the after effects of being locked down and having their social taken away and their school taken away and their sports taken away. It's done, damage to their psyche. And it's just
so that's what I mean. Like, instead of being able to go back, and it's almost like, so we call it our federal government. I don't know what you guys call it over there, but that's our
Our federal government.
Yeah, federal Australian government. And so we were all looking to them to go, hey, like, sort this out. These people are crazed. Like, what are you doing? And didn't come to the party. So I kind of feel like you guys are in that same area as well. But again, this is a completely different topic. But I do, I love the empowerment behind it, because then what you're delivering to women when you are teaching them is from an open heart and also an open mind. And that's incredibly important right now. That, you know, it's great to have people out there and light workers, and you're a light worker in your industry and what you're doing and how you present it, but it's really incredibly important to come from that open-hearted space, because you can teach anything you like, but if it's not from a heart space, it's only going to go so far.
And you know what people don't realize is that when you own rental houses, you actually give the gift of a beautiful home for someone to live in that they couldn't maybe necessarily be able to live in. So all the time when I have tenants, I'll maybe have 3 or 4 applicants on a house. But if I have a single mom with kids, almost every time, if it's apples to apples and her credit's good and everything, I'll end up renting to her. Or even a single mom with kids that maybe had a rough time in her divorce and had to file for bankruptcy because her ex-husband was an asshole or something like that. I will rent the house to a single woman with kids, because I know if a child grows up in a home versus an apartment, they're much more likely to be successful in life, feel stable, be mentally better, do better in school. I mean, they've done studies on this. So it's a gift for other women to own rental properties and be able to provide housing for other single moms and women out there as well.
Oh, I love that. Look, because when I'm renting at the moment, and to get this place,
that's discriminatory.
It was actually my kids who sold this, like, who got the real estate, the landlord over the line, because they were so beautiful and articulate and intelligent, and just sat there and had a conversation with her and were very polite and respectful. And as I walked around the house and had a look, and that's what she said to me. Look, it was, you know, like, he wasn't going to. He was not going to
landlords will all,
because I was a single mom.
Single mom with kids. They discriminate.
Well, I have a dog as well. And I think I've got a dog as well. So I think that.
Oh yeah, that just puts a nail in the coffin. I have 3 big dogs, so I let people with dogs too. So that doesn't bother me either.
I love that. Can you buy some property in Australia too?
I wish. I love Australia.
Yeah, come visit, and you can come and play with me.
I will.
Don't come in your winter over to me. Don't come now.
I do. Last time I came to Melbourne and Sydney, I went in November, end of November, which was perfect.
Yes, November.
Beautiful weather.
Beautiful. January would be gorgeous too. But anyway, you've got an invitation.
Well, I'm going to come back. It's not far. It's only 11 hours. Direct flight from here, LA to Melbourne.
I love it. So what have been some of your biggest challenges over the years?
Well, probably some of my biggest challenges, well, number one, when I went through my divorce, because even though I set up I secured all my assets in a trust, my ex-husband's parents paid for an attorney of his, and they went after me with a vengeance. They said, I'm drinking, I'm doing drugs, I'm with other men. They just did all this thing. And his attorney kept, and I didn't do any of those things, and mentally unstable. And then his attorney tried to get all of my assets. And he says, well, you need to split all your 22 houses you have with him. I go, really? I said, okay, well, here is 12 years of tax boxes, which the tax boxes are big. I said, here's 12 years of tax boxes. Feel free to go through. I have 9 bank accounts. You let me know where I commingled, because the law is you have to show that you commingled your private pre-marriage money with your marriage money. So I said, here, because I always I learned, this is what I teach women too. I teach them, you have to keep your accounts separate. You know, I had a living trust, not named after me. I had it separate, and I put a trust within a trust that's really my kids' trust, and I manage the trust, and had separate accounts, and I didn't commingle. So that was a very difficult time, because my divorce took 2.5 years, because I had to show every single piece of paper, even the house I live in, I had paid with pre-marriage money from my trust.
Yeah.
And I had to come up with a receipt from 11 years prior that of the money being wired for my pre-marriage trust. And luckily Charles Schwab had it. So, I proved. And so then my ex-husband couldn't get any of the house I live in either, because, he was living with me in the house. So, they want you to pay out half of that. So that was a very difficult time. And then I'd say when my daughter was really little and she at 3 months old had to have eye surgery because she had crossed eyes, and to have someone take your baby and cut their eyes open and say they might go blind, that was a very difficult time. But then I'd say, like in real estate, just weathering the ups and downs. The market is like a bell curve. It goes up and down. Matter of fact, I was just teaching that to my students the other night, the cycle of real estate. And real estate goes up and down. And so, but you have to weather the storms, because sometimes you have to spend thousands of dollars putting in a new air conditioning or a new roof. And being a full-time realtor, I work on commission. So my income goes up and down with the market. So just kind of weathering the storms and always trying to figure out where to get money when it's been down times and I wasn't making as much money.
So what's some of your advice about weathering the storms?
Well, number one, lean on your friends heavily, because a lot of your friends are more like your family than your family is. And I have siblings and I have a family, but my family, you'll find when you start investing in real estate, everyone around you starts naysaying. And Dr. Reddick said, when people naysay, it's because they don't understand what you're doing and why they can't. Mm-hmm. When people naysay you, they don't understand what you're doing and why they can't. So the first thing they're going to do is criticize you. So I couldn't really, when times were rough, I couldn't even go to my parents, because they were like, we told you could go to jail for owning all these houses. You could go bankrupt. You could, everyone, all these things, until I owned a lot of houses. Then all my family wanted me to teach them overnight how to buy investment properties. But to weather the storm, I think you have to try to live below your means and always try to have ways to get money. And listen, I know, as being a single mom and having a lot of bills, you don't always just have a bank account filled with money, but you have to have ability to figure out ways to get money. Like maybe have a couple credit cards available that often offer 0% interest rate, so that if you need money, you can do that. Or on times where I don't have a lot of money in the bank, or even between deals with being a realtor, I put a lot of money in credit card, and then I'll pay it off with 0% interest other credit cards, and just really, and then also a bucket theory. Really, I've always tried to create different buckets of income. Like I teach, so I have that bucket of income, and then I'm a realtor, I have that bucket of income. Dr. Reddick also taught me I invest a little bit in blockchain, so I have that bucket. Then now, and I'm a realtor, so I have that bucket. And then I have my rental properties. The mortgage keeps going down, but the rents keep going up. So you get more and more cash flow over the years. So I have that bucket of income. And now I'm going to be getting a broker's license to be a property manager in California and starting a very small property management business. And then I'm going to get my license in Florida, and I'm going to start some sort of small real estate business in Florida as well. So every time I go back and forth to Florida, I can have something to do there. So I'd say, do what you love and turn your hobbies into money, and also give back, because when you teach, like I don't make a lot of money teaching. I get like $1,000 per student for an 8-week course for 2 hours a week. And I put a lot of time together putting the material together, but I love doing it. And it's like giving back. And when you give back to other people, it enriches your life as well. So those are the things that I think are the most important ways to weather the storm. And all else fails, you can start selling things in your house. You can sell clothes on Depop and some of the clothing sites. There's so much stuff we have around our house that we don't need, that we can get rid of. You can get rid of a second car. Cut down your going out to Starbucks coffee. I mean, you guys don't do that like we do here. Everyone here is always going out. Maybe at Starbucks,
Oh no, I'm from Melbourne, Kristi. We're like the coffee capital of the world.
But you guys have coffee shops where you go and linger, and because I remember when I was in Melbourne, every morning I'd go to this little coffee cafe and I'd sit in there and they'd have the newspapers out and you get your little muffins and you sit there. Like our Starbucks, you go through a drive-through window and order your,
Oh,
you know.
oh no, I like personal. My barista knows me by name. And I don't even go in there once a week because I do brew my own coffee at home most of the time. But I go in there and they know me.
Right.
Look, I
know Americans love coffee.
Oh,
yeah, Americans are coffee, and they order things like I'll have a double Americano with half almond milk and half cashew milk, and I like 2 extra pumps of sugar for the syrup, but can you make it sugar-free syrup for the syrup and put a dash of whipped cream on top, and it has to be dairy-free because I'm lactose intolerant. Thank you. That's what I'd like. That's how our coffee orders are here from everybody.
I order a long black and they make it like just under full for me, and I bring it home and I put double cream in it.
Yeah. But here, like you wouldn't believe the things people order. You sit there, you're behind people online if you're in the shop and you listen to their coffee. Even my orders, I'm not too bad. You know,
that's so funny. I mean, the most I get is like almond latte. That's as you know, delicate as I'm gonna get with a coffee order. No, we don't really have that kind of stuff here. We're pretty basic with it, but Melbourne,
Americans do everything elaborately.
Yeah, I mean, look, we like to keep it simple, but look, we do like good coffee. I've been known to take a sip of coffee and to walk over and put it in the bin and go, I'm not drinking that. I'm not putting that to my lips again. That's happened to me twice now. And only once I've been through McDonald's. I remember one night went through. Yeah, right. But I was going to basketball. My daughter used to play representative basketball, and we were going on a Friday night. And I thought, oh my God, I'm so tired. And I think I was meeting a girlfriend out after. So I was like, we've got to load up. And on the way, I grabbed a coffee and I took a sip out of it, turned and walked back up to the counter. And this poor woman, I don't think she knew, this young girl thought she was going to get an earful. And I said to her, seriously, honey, you're an amazing barista. This is amazing. And my daughter stood there and she was like, did you just compliment that, mum? Like, and the girl was like, thank you, you made my night. And I'm like, look, I'm going to pay, like, I like coffee and you've made a really good coffee here. So well done.
They have good coffee at,
no, because it's based on the barista. If you get a good barista can use okay coffee and still make it, brew it really well, right? And this is what happened at this McDonald's. I've never received a great coffee from there again, and therefore never ordered one again. But this,
I don't know about your McDonald's. Our McDonald's here, we have like iced and hot, and we have lattes, and we have caramel. You have all that too.
McCafe or whatever it is.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know. Look, I don't really eat or drink at McDonald's because it's poison. It's not food. Exactly. So I don't go to takeaway food places at all.
Either.
So,
but occasionally you're in a situation you need to.
Well, I won't eat there. I would rather go without food than put that into my body. And I'm an adult, so I can not eat for up to 48 hours and be perfectly healthy, and drink some water, which we can get to. But coffee, if I'm desperate, I'll go there, but I'll go without. Honestly, I would prefer to go without than drink a bad coffee. I love that about weathering the storms, and you're right, because you do have to have other means. I've heard it in terms of you've called it the bucket theory, which I love. I've heard it used as income streams, like what's going into your funnel and having a wide funnel. I want to know then, what have been your favorite moments in investing?
One other thing that I'm not against doing for women to do too is to rent out a room in your house. I have several of my girlfriends that kids have gone away to college and they want a little extra money. So they rent 1 or 2 rooms out in their house to other college students who are getting their dentistry degree or things like that. And they get this great student who's just there during the week and then leaves on the weekend, and they get $1,000 a room. So that's another way. There's so many ways you can make money. I have another girlfriend of mine. She just lives by herself, her own condo. She doesn't like living alone. So she rents out her spare room Airbnb, and she chooses the people, and they normally stay a month at a time, and they're normally people that are traveling for work, and she gets these amazing people. One guy stayed with her 3 months who's a mentalist, and he had shows in Los Angeles and Las Vegas. So there's all different ways to make money that way as well.
Oh, that is so right.
Yeah, and I'm not against doing that myself either, because I want to spend, my goal in 2 years is to spend half a year in Florida and half a year here in my house. But my daughter will stay here, and I think I might get some tenants to kind of stay when I'm not here, so the house isn't so empty for her. But of course, they'll have to be very well vetted.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I imagine they would be, Kristi, with your wealth of experience. You've got a pretty good gut for that. You've got a pretty good instinct for who's going to be able to look after your house. Have there ever been tenants that you got it all wrong with, that you've gone back to the properties and gone, holy Jesus?
I haven't. I've had property managers that have a couple times have rented to bad tenants, and it was a nightmare, like when they left and damaged my house. But that doesn't happen too often. That's, again, because your house looks like your tenant and your tenant looks like your house. And then when that does happen, I don't even blame my property manager. I blame me, that it's my responsibility, that I should have looked at the tenant better, and I should have had them do yearly inspections, and I should have had them do things like, so normally if something happens, it's your personal responsibility. When something good or bad, it's your personal responsibility. So I just had a woman that destroyed my Orlando house, the first house I bought. And she lived in there for like 4 years. I 100% blame myself, because I never stayed up on my property manager to give me yearly inspection reports with photos. And I didn't really vet her when he brought her to live there. I just took his word for it. So it's my responsibility, because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. So then it snaps me into place, and then I'm on all my property managers like, hey, then I get in for a while. But so normally when something like that happens, it's my responsibility.
I really love that, because I think that's, and probably is woven into everything that you teach when you are running your courses, that everything comes back to you. We're in opposite ends of what we do for work, but essentially that's a big part of what I do. It's a foundational piece, that you are absolutely responsible for everything you think, feel, do, and say.
Yes.
So whatever's coming at you, you are part of.
What you did ask me was, what, if I got this correct, is what some of my best moments.
Yeah, what are some of your favorite moments?
Well, some of my favorite moments is giving a single mom a chance, then when she's gone through a horrible divorce, or she's lost all of her ability, like income, or she's had to file bankruptcy, and giving her a chance to start over. So that makes me, I'm getting goosebumps. That makes me like really happy to give that gift to someone. And then also to show my kids what hard work is, and that sometimes when they've had to sacrifice things because we've needed to put money into the rental houses, like that now their future will be secure as well, because these rental properties or assets can help pay for their college or help them in the future. When I die away, they will have a legacy, and that's important. And also just my own personal self-esteem, like to just see sometimes what I've built. I start from one house, and I still have 11 houses today. And what I started with no equity and just squeaking to buy each little house and cutting corners and putting things on credit cards. And now I have about 5 million in equity in my properties. Now people think, oh, well, you're rich. Well, that's a wrong assumption, because you're not rich until the houses, not even then, you don't make a lot of money until the houses are paid free and clear and the tenants are giving you the income, but you have the asset. Yes. You have the asset. And so I know I won't ever be destitute. Over the years, that's happened. When I got divorced and had to pay $35,000 in attorney fees, I sold a house. When I needed to remodel my whole backyard and redo my pool, I sold a house to do it, one of my rentals. So, and I regret, I would have done it differently now, but you always have options. And so I think that makes me really happy. And also that my kids have absorbed and learned this through me. And my son gets it. Like The other day I asked my son, well, how much money do you have in the bank account? And he goes, well, I've been saving because I'm saving to buy a property, and he's 22. He just turned 22. So it's like, I know that I've instilled that in my kids,
I
like even
love
my
that.
kids. Yeah. And even like my daughter, like she'll say something. I go, you know what my feeling is about it. Excuses, don't you, Olivia? And she goes, I know. You've said it 1,000 times. Excuses are for suckers. So it's like, sometimes I think they don't hear me, but they do hear me because they'll say it back to me. So yeah, all those things, really, the ability to help other people and the realization that I really created something from nothing.
I love that. And you're also giving people the opportunity to do that for themselves as well.
Yes.
I want to understand you've got a masterclass.
I do.
That you run from time to time.
Yes, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. California time, which is Pacific Standard Time. And I think that's you're 17 hours ahead of me. So I think 7 p.m. your time. Let's see, we started at 5 p.m. my time, which was your
10 o'clock.
10 a.m., right? So at 12 noon your time, a day ahead. So your Friday 12 noon is my 7 p.m. masterclass. I do from 7 to 8 p.m. every week. I do a masterclass and I just teach people for free about real estate, whatever it is. Like every week, I don't know what I'm going to talk about.
How long does that go for? That's amazing.
Just 1 hour. Just 1 hour. And people just sign up. I advertise it on Instagram and Facebook. And I say, if anyone wants to join my free masterclass on every Thursday at 7 p.m. Every week, it's a different topic. This week, I'll probably talk about the cycle of real estate and the recession we've just started. And the real estate market's going to crash beginning of next year, the end of this year. So I'll probably talk about that.
I watched a post that you did this morning and I loved it because you're so bang on how much the media starts things.
Fake news. Yep. We've heard that enough.
And what you think about, you bring about, right? This is like, it's been going on for a long time. And, if you're not liking your life, then have a look at what's going on in your head, because I guarantee you're creating that. But I love that though, because you're right. If you're following people that are in investment like you and others, that you're not talking that way. So
no. Do you know that?
Why does the government talk about recession? What's in it for them?
Because they want to create it to control the economy. They control if the stock market goes up. They control if housing goes down or up. They control if recessions, and then they manipulate it by putting the interest rates up and down and having sell-offs and things like that. And either tightening or loosening government regulations, like they always do. And if you listen to any multimillionaire or billionaire speak, I don't care if it's from Richard Branson to Warren Buffett to Rupert Murdoch to anybody that's ever spoken, Robert Kiyosaki, they all say that I was just listening to Robert Kiyosaki the other day, and he said, I make more money in downturns and when the market crashes than any other time. When the market's up high and everything's moving smoothly, it's not when I make my money. I make my money when the market turns, because that's when I become cash solvent, liquid, and I go buy everything I can. And he doesn't invest in stocks at all. He only does real estate. And Robert Kiyosaki, by the way, started with 1-bedroom, 1-bath condos and moved up. And almost anyone starts by small rental properties. Even like when single women come to me and say, oh, I have no money, I can't. I said, well, you pay rent, don't you? There's so many programs. I'm sure Australia has the same for like first time buyers when they're a single person or married or a single mom. They can get in with very low and no down, and they can live in that for 1, 2, 3 years, whatever they need to. And then they can turn that into a rental and then go buy another one, slightly larger, owner occupied, and then turn that into a rental after a couple of years, and then do another one. And if you keep doing that, in 8 to 10 years, you have 5 rental houses. Boom. Wow. Just like that. And every time you use the tax savings from the last one to buy a new one, because I'm sure in Australia you get tax write-offs for owning a home. So every house you buy, you get more tax write-off. So for example, I teach also how to reduce your taxes to zero. I haven't paid any federal, state, or Social Security taxes since 1998. I pay zero, not a dollar. I freak out if anyone tells me I have to pay taxes. And do you know that millionaires and billionaires do not pay taxes?
No, yeah, I'm aware of that.
We have so many write-offs with our real estate. So we have so many write-offs. I can write off everything in my life, basically. Every time I go to Florida to see my mom, I own 4 houses in Florida. I write off the plane, I write off the rental car, my food, the trip, the travel, gifts, everything I do. I write off everything and I take that right off my income. So if I make $100,000 a year and I have $100,000 in write-offs, now, yes, I've still spent the money, but I've spent the money having fun and put the money into my rental houses. Either way, you don't have the money, but I'd rather pay myself than pay the government.
I mean, look, I think that could be a whole show, but I think you've just I feel like I'm in a masterclass now. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I really do. I feel like I am now. This is amazing.
I'm like all energies. I love talking about this.
And you know what? And this is why I was, look, I have these moments of clarity every now and again where I'm like, oh, I've got this other amazing person in my network. Why hasn't she been on my podcast? And I keep forgetting, you know, how many amazing people that I'm connected to. And, you know, I love, because again, it's as you said at the start, what is meant for you at the right time will come at you. And that's what I mean. I keep going, oh yeah, there's this person, and keep having amazing podcasts. And I honestly, I just feel like I've been in a bit of a masterclass. I do want to understand though, you've got an 8-week course. Can you talk us through a little bit about that?
Yes. So it's funny because, you know, back in the day, we didn't have all this. We didn't have Zoom. Think about it. Before COVID, nobody knew really what Zoom was.
Well, I've used Zoom for a long time. In my client sessions, I always want people in there. I've been using Zoom for about 5 or 6 years. Yeah. But COVID, everyone suddenly exploded and went, oh, there's this new technology called Zoom. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I guess we've done Zoom I've been doing Zoom since about maybe 2018. But think about, we used to do Skype and things like that. But I'm saying that really most things were in person in the past. And so many years ago, probably about 20 years ago, I used to teach a course at the top level of the library. The library had an upstairs auxiliary room that they would rent out. They let you have it for free if you lived in the neighborhood. And so all the time I would do these 6 and 8 week courses for women on how to get started in real estate investing. And so I had this course that I taught. And by the end of the course, and I would only allow 25 women, and we would play Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game in groups of 4 and 5. And by the end of the course, all the women would buy a property. Sometimes 2 women would buy together. I had this one lady in her 70s, and she and 5 other ladies or 4 other ladies that were all in their 60s and 70s, empty nesters, not married. They all bought a house together. They bought a 5-bedroom house together, and they all lived in a room because none of them wanted to go into retirement centers. So they all bought a big compound, multi-million-dollar house together, and pooled all their money all in as equity share partners, and each lived in a room. And I'm getting goosebumps. I had so much fun with these ladies, and every week we would meet for 3 hours for 8 weeks. And so then Aoife Roche, who's part of the Natural Success Network and stuff, and she's a very good friend of mine, and she's like, Kristi, and also Dr. Reddick, I still talk to him all the time. He's like, Kristi, you know, you really need to write a book. You really need to share your journey with others. You really should start teaching. And so then dragging, you know, and it's always been one of my choices too. Aoife's like, okay, I'm just going to do your marketing content, and I'm going to start putting out Facebook ads, and you're going to do your 8-week course. And I'm like, and she goes, you have the material. And I do. Like, actually I have this. This was my old course book, you know, like,
yeah, you've got it all there. Yeah,
I have it. And then I used to teach all these other classes too. Here's one I used to teach, how to immediately become a successful woman real estate investor. And I would do all these free things, or these, you know, I remember back then I paid $395, or I charged $375 or $395 for the in-person. But literally we'd sit on the top of the library once a week, 3 hours. And by the end, everybody bought a property. And it was so much fun. It's not the same when we're on a Zoom, we just used to have so much fun, and it was just so enlightening to see like the light at the end of the tunnel, and like see that these women see that they have now a possibility for the future, because everyone sits there and works and goes home and works and go home. And you know what job stands for, right? Just over broke. You ask any millionaire, but you need a job to be able to get the money so that you can invest in real estate. But I'll tell you what, when you start investing in real estate, you'll like your job a whole hell of a lot more, because your job becomes exciting, because you see that you could take the money from your job and just make these amazing properties and help other people and all of that. So that's how the 8-week course came about. And so I teach an 8-week course. I just started my first one. I've only done 2 weeks now. And I literally just took the information from that book and then added more onto it and edited it and added more current, information. And that's what I do. And by the end of it, and it's called How to Get Started in Real Estate Investing. Yeah. So by the end of it, you're ready and poised to purchase a property. And at least you have all the data and the information.
I love it. How long do the like each session go for with the 8 weeks course?
It's just 2 hours. I do 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Tuesday night for 8 weeks. And then every week, the day before the course Zoom, I send them the packet of that week's work. So like the first week, I had them actually work on gap management and their goals, and really break down all their goals from spiritual and health and career and family and giving back and breaking down their goals. And I also had them do a balance sheet and an income statement. And I give them all the forms for that, and I teach them how to do it, to really look at what does their life really look like? Where do they have extra money, or where do they need to make money? And then what are their goals? What do they really truly want? Because like in Alice in Wonderland, the Cheshire Cat told to Alice when she said, there's 2 roads, which one do I take? And he says, well, where do you want to go? And she goes, oh, I don't know where I want to go. And then he says, well, then it really doesn't matter which road you take, because you don't know where you're going.
That's from the Looking Glass, isn't it? That's from the Looking Glass, I think.
Yeah. Yes. So if you don't, you have to have some direction and know, like I knew definitively that by the time I was 40 years old, I wanted to have 12 investment properties, but I wouldn't have known to do that if Dr. Reddick wouldn't have taught me how to do goals. And I used to write them down on an index card, my goals, and similar to our choices now, right? I'd write them on an index card, and I'd tape one copy above the toilet paper. I'd tape another copy next to my mirror by the toothbrush. And then one next to the kitchen sink by the dishes. So every time I was washing the dishes or going to the bathroom or brushing my teeth, I would read my goals. And I'll tell you, they all would come true.
Yeah, because then you're taking action on your choices. It's taking little bite-sized chunks all the time into it. Right. So what are your top 3 tips if someone's looking to get into investing? What would your top 3 things, just must-dos?
Well, number 1, have a job and figure out ways to save money. Okay. Have a job and figure out ways to save money. Second thing, very important, you have to educate yourself. You have to educate yourself, and you have to learn from someone who has a successful model and who has done it themselves, like I did from Dr. Reddick, and now people do from me, and where you can just copy someone else's successful model over and over again, and you really have to educate yourself on that. And then the third thing I'd say is really hone in and write all your goals in your life. Like I said, I have that somewhere, because I was just doing that with them on the goal setting. I don't know where I have it right now, but writing down, it's like a wheel, and you have all the different goals. Like I said, career, spiritual, family, giving back, cultural, because personal. If you don't balance your goals out, you end up heavily sided doing one thing or the other, and then everything else falls apart. So those are the 3 most important things: job and savings. Save your money and figure out ways to create money, get money to invest the first time, and then really educate yourself with someone who's done it and who could share with you their successful model, and then really honing in on your goals and writing them all out and your action steps and really commit to it and believe that you can do it. Because if you don't believe that you can do it, you won't do it.
I mean, that's a huge part of anything in life, is having faith.
Yes, and I really
moving forward, because without faith, you can't take blind steps. And quite often, well, you have to go into the uncertain, you have to go into the uncomfortable, you have to go into the unknown in order to create something new. And in order to do something that you've never done before, you have to do something differently. Kristi, this has been amazing. Now, my God, I feel like I've digested so much doing it right now, which I love. So I want to ask final 3 whats that I have here, because I'm all about well-being. And I believe if you have well-being in all areas of your life, financial, career, relationships, community, in everywhere, then life is going to be pretty good. Yeah.
Right.
So yes. The first what is well-being to you?
To me, well-being is number one. I think you cannot create wealth without health. And I believe that health is wealth. So overall, I believe that the mind, body, and soul are one unit to help you create what you want in your life. And that includes health. If you don't see many super successful people that don't eat healthy, work out, meditate, read books, you just don't. They all kind of go hand in hand. So to me, well-being is an overall well-being, a mind, body, spirit, being healthy, eating clean, meditating, having your choices, your goals, and then from there, coming from the inside out and creating wealth.
Beautiful. And so the second one is, what are your must-do well-being practices every day? What do you do?
Okay, definitely every day. I drink a huge 72-ounce Bubba jug. It's called a Bubba jug. It's 72-ounce stainless steel jug of, yes, very similar to that. Very similar. Very similar. I drink a 72-ounce jug of that every day. We're big on ice over here. So I have ice water with I squeeze a half a lemon in it. So that's a must. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't feel well if I don't drink that during the day. It's vital that I exercise every single day. And it's vital that I meditate every day and I do my choices. Mm-hmm. And it's vital that I get a really good night's sleep. If I don't sleep well, it just throws off my whole day.
Yeah, look, very similar to me as well. I love that. And what impact does it have on your life, having these well-being practices?
It just really sets me up to succeed in all areas of my life. Because like I said, I really believe that health is your wealth, because without health, we have absolutely nothing. And I feel like being able to sleep and exercise and meditate and quiet my mind and to go within really sets me up for success. And without that, I won't be successful. And it's vital that I do it every day.
I love, 100. Sold. I'm sold on that 100%. And
I've just added a new thing. I have this beautiful swimming pool, and we're so hot every day here right now. And so I decided I've been swimming every single day, 25 laps in my pool every day. And I do my cardio kickboxing every morning too. But every day, I even if I don't want to, no matter, last night I did at 8:00 at night, I do 25 laps in my pool, because I'm like, listen, I'm lucky enough to have this pool. I'm going to enjoy it and get exercise at the same time.
Yeah. Yes. I'm an early riser. So for me, it's getting up. Although I think you've said before, you saw me when I'm in Melbourne. So I've kitted up. Like, I'm fully covered.
I'm the opposite.
And
I'm not an early riser. I'm a late nighter. I'm a night owl. Yeah. I don't ever go to bed before midnight or 1.
Oh, really? No.
I wake up at 7:30 or 8.
Yeah. So I'm up between 4 and 5 most mornings.
What?
You're like, what? Is that, most people say to me, is that actually a time? Are you messing around with me? No, it is a time. But look, absolutely. And I probably go to bed 9, 10 at night for that reason, like, that's me done.
Yeah. Same amount of sleep. It's just a little different.
Absolutely.
I don't know why. I always just feel that I read a lot. I don't watch TV at all, and I don't really go to the movies either. And I read. I love reading, and I love Audible. So when I'm in the car, I normally have an Audible book on, and then when I'm at home at night, my house with my kids and the friends, and nothing settles down till 10 at night. So I feel like from 10 to midnight is my time, and I can like lay in bed and I can take a shower and I can read my book, and I don't have anyone bothering me.
Gotcha. I love it. Yeah, look, my lunch break, if I always give myself a lunch break. For me, that's really important. Otherwise, I won't stop working during the day. And so my lunch break is always spent with me reading. Like I'll be eating and reading and doing all that stuff. So I am so grateful that you have shared your time today and are here, and like so much.
Grateful you asked me. It's been so much fun.
I know, I love it. Look, it's completely, this is the drive of me doing Connected Conversations, is it just feeds my curiosity. And like I said, I've got this wealth of people in my network which are just beyond, like my community, which are beyond amazing, and I need to share them. So thank you so much for sharing your beautiful time with me today.
Thank you.
And how do we get in contact with you, Kristi?
You can go to my website. Well, probably the best way is, I guess wouldn't be calling from, on Facebook, under Kristi Dietz. You can see my name at the bottom of my screen. I don't know if you can see it.
I'll have the details next. I've got your website here,
yeah,
and I'll put that up in the next, there'll be another little bit. So stay with us, and so that you can actually, it'll have your details on there as well. It'll also be in the bio of each of them.
I would say, like, probably since you guys are in Australia, the best way would be to email me, realinvestor.info@gmail.com. You have my email. I'd say to email me, or you can message me on Instagram or Facebook. My Facebook is Kristi Dietz, and then my Instagram is realinvestor.info. So,
beautiful. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your time.
Thank you.
And for everyone watching and listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, questions. Please pop them below, like, share, so that we can get Kristi out into the world and she can share her magic with everyone. Mwah! Thanks for your beautiful time today. Bye, everyone. To connect with Kristi, head to www.kristidietz.kw.com. To connect with me, head to emmamuir.com. Enjoy your day, and thanks for sharing your time.